You spend hour upon hour studying, rereading, keeping on reading the same paragraph, and you spend 1, 2, 3, 5 hours rereading the same chapter just so it can be memorized and consolidated in your head. And the very next day, when you have an exam, you finally get the grade. You get an F. You failed. Why? Because you don't know how to study. Because I'm here to tell you, I'm an example for you. I'm here to tell you that studying doesn't have to be hard if you have a simple system to follow through which you can easily memorize anything that is thrown at you. You can literally memorize this whole book. You can literally memorize this whole thing if you use my system, which got me from getting C grades every single grade to getting A grades consistently. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly that system through which I memorize everything easily and get good grades. But before we get to that, I want to tell you my personal journey with this and how this system personally helped me spend less time studying and memorizing more and saving more time to focus on other things which I'm interested in, like playing soccer, like building my business. So this is gonna be really effective for you, especially if you like doing hobbies on the side, like playing some sort of sport, or if you're running a business, for example. So this is gonna be beneficial for you a lot. So my personal journey was this, that 3 years ago, when I was in, I think, grade 7, I was getting super bad grades. In the first 5 months, my grade equated to a C grade. I failed in my first exams. Every single one of those examinations I failed. Biology, physics, whatever you can think of, I failed in all of them. But then, once I started implementing all the techniques that I've researched for 2 to 3 years, active recall, spaced repetition, time blocking, every single one of those things, once I started consolidating every single one of those things into my system, into my studying routine, then I finally started to memorize things better. I was learning things even more quickly. So let's get straight to it. Here is how you can personally get better at studying and memorize things easily so you can get that A grade that you have been striving for while saving a lot of time. So let's get straight to it. So there are basically 3 steps involved in the system. The first step is to get information in, get all that knowledge in, for example, from the book that you're reading. The second step is to consolidate all that memory through a number of techniques that I'm going to tell you, which you're going to implement in your studying system. And the third step is to review the past topics that you have read so you don't forget them. Because we often make the mistakes of forgetting whatever we have learned because we just simply don't review it. So this system covers every single thing that you can dream of in your study system. So here we go. Here is the first step of the study system. Number 1, getting information in. This is the most important step, and if you miss on this, if you don't get the right information in, then you are gonna struggle a lot with the rest of the steps. So how do you actually get information in? So for example, if I'm reading this book, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the chapter which I'm reading. For example, I'm reading resistance, for example, in electrics. So I'll just quickly go over the whole chapter. It will take me around like 30 minutes to go over the whole chapter. Okay. Whatever charges, atoms and electrons, okay, electric fields have electric force repelled by a charge, whatever you are reading, just read it quickly, okay? Consolidate every single thing in your mind. Ask yourself questions. What I personally like to do in order to like consolidate and like read quickly but effectively is I will quickly go over, for example, this subtopic. I will quickly go over a subtopic, and once it's finished, I will close my book and I will ask myself, okay, what did I just read? Can I quickly consolidate everything I read into 3 simple sentences. And if I can do that, then that's really good. I move on to the next subtopic. But if I can't, I reread the subtopic so it's actually instilled in my brain. Now that's the information capturing part. You have captured all that information into your brain. Now it's sitting in your brain. Now a recent study proved that information can only sit in your brain for 2 hours maximum. And after 2 hours, you start to forget it, because it's all about the forgetting curve. So what is a forgetting curve? The forgetting curve is basically this graph which tells us that for 2 hours, you can only consolidate every single bit of information you have learned, and after that you start forgetting it. You may have noticed this in your personal experience as well. I noticed this as well. After I've watched like an educational podcast, an educational YouTube video, I start forgetting it as soon as I'm done with it. It's all about the forgetting curve, and 2 hours later I may have forgotten every single thing that I've learned, which is exactly why you need to have a system to memorize the important things that you hold within yourself. Moving on, the second step of the effective study routine is consolidation. So how do we define consolidation? So consolidation is basically getting all that information that you have learned from reading the book, taking all that information and breaking it down into your own language and actually turning that language into something which you can memorize easily and which you can never forget. And the number one technique that you can use for this is active recall. Active recall is the best study technique out there. You don't need any of the study techniques. Oh, use this pen, oh, use that pen. That's all fucked up. You don't need all that bullshit. The only thing you need is active recall. You don't need to reread all those 20 pages for the 69th time and waste 6 hours of your life. You can just use active recall, and everything that you have read will be memorized into your brain, will be instilled into your brain. Because I see so many people out there, they're constantly rereading and rereading. All my classmates, I see them rereading the same chapter. Okay, wavefronts and rays, okay, this shit and that shit. I say, fuck that. Why are you even doing that? That's not even worth it. The time you're spending on that thing, on rereading all those pages, you could have spent on active recall, and it would produce better results, the best results there are. So active recall is the best technique that you can use in order to memorize every single thing that comes your way. So what is active recall? Active recall is basically quickly memorizing and remembering all the information that you have read in the information chapter. So for example, once I'm done reading the waves chapter, then what I can personally do is I can go to the end of the page, okay, and there will be some questions there. For example, there are some questions here for the chapter, and then I can quickly go over them, and through that I can actually memorize whatever I've learned and consolidate it better than everyone else. Why? Because I'm actually putting all that information to work. I'm actually putting all that information to work by answering some practical questions which will help my brain learn how to actually apply all that information that I've learned. Because once you turn information into something practical which you can use, then it's easier to memorize it. So start active recalling. Now there are multiple ways that you can go through active recall and use active recall for. The best way that I personally use is that I answer questions after I have learned all that information. Like I just showed you right now. I opened up the question page, and once I'm done reading the whole chapter, as you talked about in the first step of this effective study system, I just open up the questions chapter and start completing all the questions. And if I'm stuck on a specific question, I'll go back and reread the topic that I'm struggling with. And because of that, I can understand the question better and I get a better answer. And because of that, because I fail in that question, my brain remembers that question really well, because your brain is made to remember your failures more than your successes. I'm guaranteeing you that. You still remember the time you failed your exam just because you didn't study that one thing. You don't remember the time you aced your geography exam, don't you? Because our brain is designed to survive, and the only thing it can survive through is learning from its mistakes. So that is exactly why active recall is again so effective. You're learning from your mistakes. You mess up on a question, go and reread the topic, and you learn from your mistake. You'll answer the question better after that. Now, another thing which you can do to active recall is use flashcards. I personally think that flashcards are a hassle and they take a lot of time, so I just answer questions, and I think they are generally better if you're answering questions based on the topic that you've read. So you can just also go for flashcards, either online or like physical flashcards, like those indexed cards that you can write things down on. So how do you use flashcards? In flashcards, you basically write down the question on the first. So there are basically two faces to a flashcard, okay, the front and the back. You write the question down on the front face, what is the formula for density? And then on the other side of the flashcard, you're gonna write down the answer to that. And then you're gonna make a whole stack of these questions, a whole stack of these flashcards, all on your PC online. You're gonna put them right next to you, and then you're gonna take one flashcard at a time. Okay, what is the formula for density? Okay, this is the formula for density, that's correct. You put that flashcard down. And once you make a mistake, okay, what is the formula for mass? Actually, I don't know the formula for mass. So you put it down into another pile. And that pile is gonna be filled with the questions that you make a mistake on. For example, you ask yourself, what is the formula for mass? And you get it wrong. So you're gonna put it in another pile so you can review it later. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna reread the formula for mass, and then you will actually pick up that flashcard that you messed up with and you'll review it again. And again, the power of active recall, you'll remember it better because you made a mistake with it. Moving on, the third part of this effective study routine is review. Now this is the most important step, because by what I'm guessing, you have been studying for a long time and you have a lot of information to retain. Just look at this physics books. Just look at it, how thick it actually is. You have to retain all this information into your brain. And it's gonna be hard. When did I say it's not gonna be fucking hard? So that is exactly why you need to review your past chapters. So at the end of every single study session, I'll take out like 10, 15 or like 30 minutes at the end of every study session, and I'll just quickly go over, for example, a chapter that I read yesterday. So for example, if I read the chapter pressure yesterday, so I'll quickly go over it. Okay, this is the formula for pressure, and this is how I'm gonna apply it. I'm gonna go over some questions quickly. That is how you're gonna review and retain information for a long time. That is the power of spaced repetition. So what is spaced repetition? Spaced repetition is another really good study technique which you can use to retain all that information into your brain. So spaced repetition works on the principle of the forgetting curve again. So what do you have to do in spaced repetition? So for example, if I read the topic density, for example, if I read the topic density 2 days ago, what I'm gonna do at the end of my study session in the current moment is that I'm going to review density again. Okay, this is the formula, these are the questions that I've got to answer, and because of that, the forgetting curve will not happen, because I re-reviewed that information, and my brain is going to retain all that information better than ever before. So start applying this to your life. At the end of every single study session, take out some time, 10, 15, 30 minutes to review the things that you learned like 1, 2 days ago, even a week ago. It doesn't matter. You just have to review your past topics, and this is going to help you a lot. I hope this video really helped you a lot, and yeah, thank you for watching, and remember, action over words.